Hi. I recently started reading Stephen King's It, and I've read several Stephen King novels, maybe not as many as I should have. But one of the things I was thinking about is that when you're reading a book, you can usually you get a feel for the author, and you can say, "Oh, this feels like a Stephen King book." And certainly, some people are able to, I think there was like a book, Primary Colors, by Anonymous, and people figured out from the style of writing exactly who wrote the book, and I think it's interesting, and even in the music industry, I'm a big fan of like Aphex Twin, and then on his record label there was like this new band, the Tuss, and you could totally tell it was Aphex Twin and not other people, and of course I don't think he ever fessed up to it, but I think everyone believes that it's actually Aphex Twin, and so even musicians who dabble in different genres, including like Aphex Twin, he doesn't sing, so it's just the music that has the same feel. And I was thinking about this, and certainly like Stephen King and his books have a similar feel. Basically it's the author's voice, or the artist's voice, that you can sort of recognize. And I began to think about it and wonder if there's such a thing can be recognizable in video games. And certainly everyone likes to compare video games to movies, and certainly I do a lot. And I think this is something similar, where the director, you can, tell a Michael Bay movie, by the way the shots are set up and how much movement. And there was a really interesting video dissecting like what Michael Bay does, there's a lot of auteur directors and everyone where you really can tell, this is a David Lynch movie, and of course I'm a big fan of David Lynch, and certainly was an influence on Neverending Nightmares, but I think it's a tough thing to answer on other games, and I think, partially because, certainly you could say genre, so like, oh, this is maybe a developer by blank because it's in the same genre as that, but I think that's a bit of a stretch, and certainly there's developers that work in a variety of genres, so, again, you can stop watching if you're expecting me to come to some sort of conclusion and have a really good theory. This is more, a hypothetical, sort of more of an interesting thing to me that will hopefully be interesting to you. But I think I can talk, at the very least, about, my author's voice and the things that I've been working on. So as an independent game developer, I did Retrograde, and Retrograde is about time going backwards, and there's this weird twist, and then I also did a Mobius Proposal, where there's a literal twist in the world. The world takes place on a Mobius strip, and you have to try and get to the other player and do these puzzles with hammers. So I know everyone, I've been talking a lot about puzzles. If you want to see a puzzle game I designed, there you go. You can check out a Mobius Proposal. It's free. It's on the old Kickstarter page. I don't know. I'd be interested to get more feedback on it. But again, it's similar to Retrograde in that they both take the world as it is and then distort it. And Neverending Nightmares is similar. It's just, a distortion on the world. Everything looks bleak and creepy and terrible. And so I think, something that is a theme in my games is not presenting the world as it is, but, these weird worlds where things behave differently. And I think I can't say that every game I'll work on will be like that. Certainly, I think the next game will be a psychological horror in the vein of Neverending Nightmares, and so you could probably say that it meets that criteria. But I think that the amazing thing about video games is we can present worlds that are totally different from our own. These new worlds, these new ideas to explore, different ways to think about things, and I think that's really compelling, is creating these worlds that couldn't exist, and making people explore them, and that's something that I really love. And I always talk about Panzer Dragoon Saga, but like getting lost in that world was really amazing for me. And I think that's something that really great video games can do. And certainly I think that there are a lot of RPGs, there's a lot of game worlds, but I don't know, I guess I'm not, it takes something sort of special for me to get interested in it. Like, I played the original Mass Effect, and I didn't much care for it. I don't know if that reflects poorly on me, but I just, didn't think it was a world that I was interested in getting lost in. Just sort of like a Star Wars-y thing with nothing, super special about it, and I'm not really big on the fantasy things. I mean, I like Lord of the Rings, and I love Game of Thrones, but the fantasy thing just isn't my doesn't excite me, so I haven't been playing like Dragon Age or anything. But yeah, I think taking a look at, I don't know, another game developer just popped into my head, like David Jaffe. I was talking about him with some friends yesterday. He has a new game, I forget what it's called, but it's like, I don't know, like Drawn to Death, or like Paper Drawing Death, or something. I don't know. It's basically like supposed to be this high school kid's sketchbook, and then they come to life in an arena fighter. And so David Jaffe, of course, is most famous for God of War. I don't know if he worked on the original Sony Santa Monica Connectica. It was like a weird motorcycle game where you're like a person that turns into a motorcycle or something. I don't know anyone who played it, but it is a game that Sony Santa Monica did. And then he did God of War. And I'm probably forgetting some things, but he worked on Calling All Cars and Warhawk. And it's not entirely clear what sort of thread runs through all of those. If you look at Calling All Cars, Warhawk, and this new sketchy shooter thing, there's a big focus on multiplayer and competitive multiplayer. But God of War doesn't quite fit into that. So, I mean, I don't know if his taste or his style has changed, if he's less interested in the sort of epic single player of God of War, or if maybe there's some other criteria that sort of unites those other games. And it's tough because, I mean, like, you look at someone very prolific and involved in a lot of games like Miyamoto, and certainly I don't think he's done any realistic games. They've all been cartoony and focused on fun. He hasn't really done a story-driven game. So, I mean, maybe that's a style. And, you could say Nintendo as a company sort of has a style. So I guess, that's something, a developer where you can kind of feel the style, although, now it's tough to say, how involved was Miyamoto in this Mario game, but I think he sort of oversees a lot of games and tries to push them in the right direction. But I mean, I don't really know what goes on at Nintendo in Japan. So I don't know. It'd be interesting if you guys have a favorite developer or company or whatever, and try and figure out what their style is, and it can be really challenging even for like one-man studios, because I was thinking, and I hope I'm not getting his name wrong, but Thomas Bithell, or oh, maybe his name isn't Thomas. Anyway, there's a guy. Sorry, I should know my indie guys, but anyway, the developer of Thomas Was Alone is now doing Mike Bithell. Sorry. Is doing Volume. I think it's called Volume, but it's like a futuristic shooter, and it's just kind of interesting. I mean, I haven't played either game. I don't think the second one is out yet, but to you know, try and figure out what his style is. So if anyone has any ideas of game developers and their sort of style, their voice, I'd be interested in hearing them. So thanks for watching.